You're listening to Procurement 6, the weekly podcast from the team at Art of Procurement that summarizes this week in procurement in just 6 short segments.
Hi there. My name is Kelly Barner, and today is Friday, August 23rd, 2024.
6.
This week's Procurement 6 is brought to you by Mastermind Live 2024, now open for registration. Join us to get a healthy dose of next-generation inspiration for custom operating models, as well as sourcing and category strategies that are designed to help your team thrive in a brave new world. This virtual event will take place on October 30th, starting at 10 a.m. Eastern. Register by clicking the link in today's show notes or going to artofprocurement.com/calendar.
5.
In this week's Art of Procurement podcast episode, Philip Eidson turns the microphone on himself. In one of the handful of solo episodes Phil records each year, he takes on a deep dive into the long-standing challenges facing category management. He looks at how these challenges are actually a larger threat to the future of procurement, and, not only to focus on the negative, shares his own perspective on what procurement can do to reimagine their category management strategies and ensure its continued relevance and impact. In this short clip, Phil shares his perspective on the role that AI technologies will play in helping procurement to future-proof their category management programs. Let's listen in.
Now, as I mentioned earlier, I do strongly believe the premise of category management is fundamental to the future of procurement. We're seeing in real time some technological advancements in procurement that's brought about by machine learning, by process automation, and emerging use cases that leverage generative AI. The buying of products and services at scale is only going to get easier for stakeholders that are enabled by this technology. I'm really bullish, for example, on autonomous sourcing. So where budget holders within some preset parameters can buy the things that they need without hands-on procurement support. Now, as a side note, we've always warned that should procurement teams not embrace technology, and this has been core to Art of Procurement all the way when I started in 2015, that if we do not embrace these changes, that we'll get impacted by others making decisions about them. And so these providers, if procurement doesn't kind of take the lead and look to experiment with and implement some of these solutions that we're now seeing, those providers will instead pitch the CFO, the COO, and CEO.
To listen to the full episode, go to artofprocurement.com/podcast or search for Art of Procurement and subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts. You can also click the link in today's show notes.
4.
In this week's Art of Supply podcast, I share my interview with Ian Rust, the founder and CEO at Revoy, a company looking to make electric-powered freight transport possible and affordable at scale. I know, you're forgiven for thinking that the idea of electric Class 8s being used for long-haul freight cost-effectively may not work. But Ian and his team are challenging preconceived notions about the barriers preventing electrified road freight from becoming mainstream. It's often seen as too difficult, too expensive, too complicated, too inefficient, and more. Among the realities that Ian is working with are the fact that trucking is a foundational service, and the need to introduce changes with care is essential. Where and how regulations can effectively support the transition from diesel to electric need to be carefully considered. And finally, private industry should be allowed to do what they do best: innovate inside a set of constraints. Listen to this week's Art of Supply interview for more on a new business model that's trying to transition to electrified road freight by clicking the link in today's show notes or going to artofprocurement.com/supply.
This is Procurement 6 from Art of Procurement. To get notified every time an episode is published, go to artofprocurement.com/subscribe. 3.
In this week's episode of the Sourcing Hero podcast, we heard from Anders Lassen, the owner and senior procurement consultant at Gratis Consult and founder of P2 Connect. He spoke about the common misperceptions and missed opportunities that keep procurement and accounts payable apart. He talks about the type of relationship most procurement teams have with AP and how procurement reporting into finance, as opposed to the CEO or operations, might influence that relationship. You can hear the full interview by clicking the link in today's show notes or by searching for the Sourcing Hero wherever you find your audio entertainment.
2.
One of the biggest recent CEO moves to make news headlines is Brian Niccol jumping from Chipotle to Starbucks. In addition to a hefty $10 million signing bonus, he won't have to relocate from Southern California, where he lives today, to Seattle, where Starbucks is headquartered. I'm left wondering, can you effectively be the CEO of a $36 billion company from home? Apparently, Starbucks is going to pay for a small office in his hometown, complete with a full-time local assistant. But that isn't really the point. A recent Wall Street Journal article listed all of the CEOs who have tried similar things, and they include Victoria's Secret, Boeing, and Wells Fargo. So it isn't impossible. Ironically, I think one of the greatest challenges he will run into is sustainability. Apparently, the plan is for him to, quote, commute from California to Seattle on a corporate jet. That's not exactly on brand for a company that touts their environmental impact. To read more, check out Starbucks' new boss gets an unusual perk, remote work, linked in today's show notes.
1.
Before I let you go, I want to tell you about an upcoming AOP event you won't want to miss. On August 28th, we're hosting Martin Ward, Digital Procurement Transformation at Roche, and Shachi Rai Gupta, Vice President of Strategy at Oro Labs, to discuss the findings of the 2024 Procurement Orchestration Survey. You will hear about why nearly half of procurement teams have low or very low real-time visibility into ongoing activities, the correlation between increased automation and the procurement user experience, and their predictions for 2025, including how generative AI will influence procurement orchestration. You can register by finding the link in today's show notes or by going to artofprocurement.com/calendar.
Thanks for listening. We'll be back next Friday at 6 a.m. U.S. Eastern Time. If you've enjoyed this pod, help us grow and tell your peers to search for Procurement 6 wherever they get their podcasts.